wants to have a 1300 horsepower car, but they don't want to have 1300 horsepower problems. You may or may not know that this is the 12th ever built C8 in the world. 2020 model year, VIN number 00012. Well, I bought this car because I was the #3 Corvette salesman in the country, and I absolutely love Chevrolet and I love representing them. And I decided that I just didn't want a stock car, so I pretty much avoided my warranty right at the beginning and put a nitrous express system on there. And then later on we twin turboed it, and then I was just tired of having to deal with the pandemic stuff, and I did not want to charge over MSRP to customers. My values of life outweighed my love to sell Chevrolet and work for a company that was going to charge over MSRP. As we are now in 2024, we realized that that was a bad business decision. So I sold this when I started Mike's Car Store here in Georgetown, Indiana. A year later, after I sold it, I regretted selling it. I missed this car so much. I freaking love this car, and I bought it back. Well, the gentleman who I sold it to with the twin turbo build on it blew up the engine, didn't tell me, so for the last year it's been getting built, and now we have one of the fastest C8s in the world. And the reason I got rid of this car the first time is because I had the twin turbo build on it, and I knew that I was going to have to spend more money on it because that's indicative of building a car. Well, now this car sets at 1,332 horsepower, and it's giving me nothing but problems as expected. And I want to point out, this is not a negative video. This is a video to show you what it's like owning a car like this. Complete Street Performance is who built this car in Philadelphia, and they do an amazing job, and they're very good friends with me, and I'm actually entering into a business venture with them as well. And so this is nothing negative on them as well. Just want to point that out because sadly we have to in this day and age. So today I got the car back. Absolutely was super excited, but I missed something very important. And this car was tested quite a bit before it was released back to me. And it's so crazy how things happen. This is, again, I'm gonna say this word a lot in this video. It's indicative of having a built car and why I sold the car while I was trying to build Mike's Car Store. So if we go back to the video and watch, when the car's coming off, you can see a lot of exhaust coming out just the right-hand side of the exhaust system. And I didn't catch that for a couple different reasons. It was a cold start, it was a cold day, and it was wet out. So who knew? I didn't catch it because it wasn't something in my mind. Fast forward to a couple days later, because I parked the car in our garage at home, I can remote start this car, right? There's no check engine lights on this car. I can remote start it. So with this being a built car, I want to make sure that it's up to operating temperature before I drive, so I start it for a couple minutes before I leave. Well, I walk out to the garage and we have smoke coming from the engine, and it wasn't a little bit of smoke, it was a lot of smoke, so much that it triggered me that I'm thinking I have a fire and I needed a fire extinguisher. So being that the car was remote started, I know that if I just go right to the back of the lift gate and lift that bonnet up, that it's going to kill the engine immediately. Very good knowledge to have that if there's a fire and the car's running with remote start, that I can hit that button. As soon as it opens, it kills the car. So now I settle down a little bit and I start assessing what's going on, okay? There is no fire, there is no damage. Why is this smoking so bad? Again, this is the third day and I'm a little confused. And so a couple days goes by and I watch it, and then I send this video to Andrew showing him what I'm seeing after the car has set for several hours. So I sent that video to Eric and Andrew to get their opinions, and Eric actually hit me back first, and he says maybe it is a valve or a sleeve that keeps the coolant out of the exhaust system that's starting to fail. And I'm like, okay, what do we do to fix it? And he says replace the turbo. Well, so happened to be that I had another comp turbo just sitting here, so we decided to go ahead and replace that, and let me say, it was a task. So now I'm really excited because I'm thinking I've got some good video content here that I broke my car on the first day that I owned it, right? And so I literally recorded 3 hours of content on this because I have never replaced a turbo. I haven't really gotten into like fixing cars outside of very minimal things in my entire career in the car business, but it's something that I've always desired to do. Watching the technicians at 𝘥𝘥𝘥 Chevrolet and my past dealerships I worked at tear engines apart and replace them and put them back together, it's really interesting to watch, and it's very intriguing to me. So I'm thinking, yeah, I get to replace my own turbo, and it was a learning experience for me because something that Andrew told me is to make sure that you clock the turbo. I've never heard that terminology before, and I didn't understand it. So I got to learn that. And so we went ahead and replaced the turbo. All right, I've resorted to acting like I'm 5'2" and I'm laying up here. And I think, come on. This is fun and interesting. Can I do it? Can I do it? There's the bolt. Literally just all loosened up. And I can get this turbo straight out. Oh my goodness gracious, wow. It was a fairly straightforward job, but you saw all that coolant fall out of the turbo when I picked it up. Yeah, wasn't a good thing to have all that in there. So it went back in pretty smoothly. I made a few mistakes, which is why I have 3 hours of content, because I was learning. I didn't get the V-bands correct. Just all sorts of little itty bitty things that it was truly fun learning. But now, what I'm really excited about, now that I got the car fixed, is that I get to do my first mod that I wanted to do. One of the big things that the C8s need, especially for you guys who track cars, is an X-brace. And this right here is from Speedway Composites, and it's the only X-brace that actually does what it's supposed to do. It's not just for looks, even though you guys know I'm a huge carbon fiber fan. It's got carbon fiber. Even though it's got great looks, it's actually got great purpose behind it too, that actually works. And I've done a little bit of work up front here to make sure I can get this in, but this thing absolutely helps with the rigidity, right? So other cars like this, supercars or non-supercars, but mid-engine cars, the C8 has actually got one of the lowest rigidity ratings. If you want to get really technical in the Newton meter areas, this is really, really low. So the X-brace actually helps it out. So that's going to help with responsiveness. It's going to help with handling, and like I said earlier, for you track guys, this is going to help for getting faster lap times, which is so important. But check this out, it actually works, and it's the only one that goes to the strut towers as well, where all the other ones out there are just for looks that typically use these bolts, because that's the path of least resistance for developers that don't have to worry about this thing actually working. So this actually works, and it makes it so much stronger, and you just saw me put it in, so much simpler. SpeedwayComposites.com. Great thing for you guys, especially Z06 people who are tracking your cars. And so now that leads us back to present day, because I think I've got another problem. I showed you the smoke coming out of the exhaust so bad when I first got the car. Well, it's starting to happen again, and it's coming out of the same side, and I'm so frustrated about this. And again, like I've said before, this is just indicative of owning a 1300 horsepower car. This is nothing bad about who built the car or the parts on the car. This is just what happens. So this is tuned to E85, and that's all I've been putting in it is E85. I haven't put anything other than that in it. So yesterday, Mr. Detillo, Rich, said, hey, why don't you put some 93 in there and let's see what happens today. So I had a quarter tank of E85 still in there yesterday. I put half a tank of 93 in there, drove the car around quite a bit, and so now we're going to start it up and see what happens. Literally not doing it. It's not doing what it was doing. So I don't know if this is good or bad.
That was good.
That was good.
That was good.
So why is it smoking when we have E85 in there then?
It may just be the mixture of the fuel.
Okay. Did it smell like coolant yesterday?
It's hard to tell.
I thought it smelled a little sweet.
It did smell a little sweet.
Okay. All right. I'm not crazy.
But E85 has got a different smell than normal gas.
It does, and I like the smell of E85 right. Coming out of the exhaust. Of course, we got our Speedway Composites brace back here, and I've been driving this, and it's absolutely amazing. I showed you installing it earlier in the video, and this thing is absolutely amazing. So I haven't checked this because I've had a coolant leak as well that I haven't talked about yet, and we shouldn't be too warm. And we're fine on coolant. We had 2 coolant leaks. The very first one was bad, extremely bad. And we found out what that was. Is one of the hoses that go into the turbo was actually like rotting from the inside basically. So that hose had been on for a year and a half, 2 years. Of course, we know when I sold this car, we don't believe that it was garage. We believe that the person who I sold it to just had it parked outside, which is not good. But also just there's so much heat down here. I talked about it in 2019 when I first saw the first C8 in person and showed you guys the video that nobody knew that this down here was actually vented, and that's a reason to get heat out of the car. There's so much heat back here, and it's so important to get the heat out of the car. So that hose just basically started melting on the inside, dry rotting, cracking, and stuff like that. So that's something probably I've got to worry about down the road. So we replaced that, and after we replaced that, more coolant leak. And the coolant leak started getting less and less and less, and I see a drop here and there, and that's it. And I haven't got my plate back on underneath the car because I'm trying to find this coolant leak. And Rich has looked all over the place, and you found it where?
Nowhere.
Nowhere, exactly, nowhere. So crazy. So I haven't been driving it home because I'm afraid that one day I hop in the car, leave, and there's coolant on the ground and the dogs get it. So we obviously don't want that to happen. So I've been leaving it here, and it's a controlled environment, and we haven't seen coolant. And then next day we'll see like a dime-sized coolant leak on it. Not even real thick, but just real small. So just another thing that we have on the C8. And I just checked this coolant reservoir. So from the factory, this is not there. We cut this out. This is the inner chiller coolant right here. Literally, we could be driving down the road for an hour and a half, and I can, as soon as I stop the car, I can take this off, and it's not going to be pressurized or hot, because this coolant, when you stick your finger in there, it is extremely cold. It's crazy how well these inner chillers work, which I'm glad I don't have ice box or anything like that. And that one is typical for the car. So neither one of those are losing coolant. I've checked them, I've watched them, and it's just absolutely insane. And then I also have a check engine light on as well, and this is simply a NOx sensor, so very, very simple to fix. I have a brand new NOx sensor here, but the issue is, and maybe you guys can help me in the comments section, is the NOx sensor is way up there. So NOx sensor, to what my information I have, is very specific on torque, and it's 15 pounds of torque, so it's very simple. But the issue is I'm not sure how to ensure that I torque this to spec when I have to use like an extension and stuff like that, because obviously when we use an extension, that torque can be totally different than when we're not on an extension. Maybe I'm thinking wrong. Let me know in the comment section what that is, because I definitely want to get that check engine light out, because I love remote starting my car, and that's one thing that I love about this, and Complete Street did such an amazing job, is that we have no check engine lights on this car, and I can use all the functions from the factory. Speaking of the factory, we have transmissions, and there's not a whole lot of unlocking. There is no unlocking. I know of one TCM unlocked, but there's issues from HP tuners that they keep bricking it and stuff like that, and that's just indicative of the factory locking this stuff up. Took them a long time to unlock the ECU. We have that unlocked, we have that tuned through HP tuners, and it's doing great. But I'm having some issues on the transmission. It's like really goofy. I'm gonna go drive it right now and see if it does it, because it's not consistent. It's not always the same case, and I always use manual mode on this, and I was told one time to launch it with automatic mode, and I had a little bit of an issue there. But let's see if this acts properly now. If not, I've got video of it acting improper, and I'll show you what it does when it's improper, and it's very weird. All right, so we're gonna hop out here in the road. We'll start driving. Shift's perfect shift point. You can see that we have good temperatures on everything. Absolutely perfect. This is exactly what we want, and unfortunately it doesn't do it all the time. So here we're gonna do a downshift. Oh, there, it kind of did it a little bit. Let me downshift one more time. Nope, it worked perfect. That's what I want. That's exactly what I want. But unfortunately, I'm not getting that all the time. So I sent this video right here to Complete Street Performance, and I also sent it out to my friend James Cordes out in Arizona, who owns Cordes Performance, and I asked his professional opinion on it as well. And yeah, it's just indicative of not having a built transmission. The only thing we can do currently right now is build the clutches. Maybe I need to drop the transmission and rebuild with new clutches, because I didn't do it. I wasn't involved on it, and maybe I just need to spend the money on that. So here's the video of what's actually going wrong from time to time with the transmission. So I want to ask about how this transmission shifts. So you can see 2,000 RPMs, and you can hear it. See how that jumped up, and it doesn't really shift good. So I'm gonna shift up now. Like, why is it doing that? It does it all the time. So see how that transmission does that. So if I were in a normal vehicle and that transmission would rev up like that and then shift, or then down and then up and doing all that goofy stuff, I'd be extremely weird. But this is a built car, and it's fully built, as far as built as we can get it, with the available options out there on the market today. So it's really goofy on what that is, and that's what I'm not too sure. And Eric, who works for Complete Street Performance, you know, he's an amazing builder. He does awesome stuff, and he's like, dude, your clutches have just always been goofy, and so we don't know if we need to retune like the controller that's on there or what. And then want to come back here and look to see if there's coolant here, because I've been sitting at the bank here for about 10 minutes, and there's no reason to really look under here, because that coolant dropping only kind of happens on cooldown. It's really weird, and it's not every single time. It's so crazy. And these are just a couple of the things. We got one other big one that's just annoying as can be, and that would be I am a chicken. So we have this nice little boost controller here. So we're setting on 2 separate boosts, right? So we have 16 pounds of boost or 17 pounds of boost, and then 23, 24 pounds of boost. And if I flip this switch like that, that puts me into high boost mode. And that's the most I've ever hit that switch. Literally, you guys just witnessed me hitting that switch for the first time. I have yet to hit that switch. This car is sitting right at 800 horsepower to the ground on low boost, and wow, is it amazing. I've had the car back now for about 3 months, and I've been driving it as much as I can because I'm trying to get used to the car. One day in Mexico, I come up to the tunnel and I'm at 70 miles an hour, and I punch it. And before I get out of the tunnel to get back into the United States, I'm doing 155 miles per hour. And I'm like, holy crap. And this tunnel is very short. It like almost literally scared me. I was worried about things around me, controlling the car, slicks, it was 30 degrees out, all this stuff. And so I text Eric, I was like, am I in low boost or high boost? And he says, nope, that's low boost. And I'm like, holy crap, that's low boost, and I'm going from 70 to 155 in a quarter mile, not even a quarter mile. Wow, I'm a little scared. So I have not flipped that switch into high boost because I am a chicken and I am scared. And I don't want to wreck my car. I have this car insured for $200,000 now, because that's about what I've got into it, humbly telling you that. I don't want to make a $200,000 insurance claim on this car, because if I were to wreck it, I definitely would make the insurance claim to get my investment back, because we've spent a lot of money on it. I got rid of my truck because I did not want to spend $15,000 and have the risk of me not being happy, and I did not want to make a $15,000 claim on my insurance, because I now have a new vehicle acquired. It's still coming from the factory, it's at the port, so it tells you I will be buying my first non-General Motors vehicle, and the insurance on that is $4,200 per year. So imagine if I had an insurance claim of what that cost would be. I bet it would cost me $6,000 a year to insure it. So what do you guys think I bought? Throw it down in the comments section. So yeah, 2 days later, I'm getting ready to go to Cars and Coffee, and look what we got. Like, it's so frustrating owning a car like this. There's always going to be something broken, and I know that, and I get it, but I just want a 1,300 horsepower car without the